political corruption, where they will bribe or other ways attempt to influence politicians, police officers, and judicial officials in the state of Louisiana.
There's always been a legend out there that Costello came in from New York, and during the Huey Long regime here in Louisiana, established slot machine operations all over the city of New Orleans. And he operated these machines with impunity. Costello's operation was supposedly immune from any sort of official criminal prosecution.
We intend, after January 1st, to reorganize the city government. We intend to have a general house cleaning. Yes, we'll not only clean the streets of this city, but I'm going to clean every department of every grafting, tammany politician and appoint honest men and women in their places.
Smash gambling, shouts New York's Mayor LaGuardia. So he smashes away at those cheating contraptions, the slot machines. He can add a gambling crusade with a hammer.
Let the gamblers, tinhorns, racketeers, and gangsters take notice that they have to keep away from New York from now on.
In this pile of battered junk were 1,000 tricks for chiseling, jipping, swindling. They're going now to the place they belong, the garbage dump out at sea. They'll never chisel, jip, or swindle again unless some gangster fish rigs them up for the sucker fish. The mayor with a punch can also pitch. And down go the slot machines to the bottom of the sea.
Fiorello LaGuardia put an end to the slot machines of Costello. He said, you got to get those slot machines out or I'll throw you in jail. I mean, he got very tough on them. So Senator Huey Long of Louisiana said, oh, you can't have your slot machines in New York? Bring them down to my state. Bring them down to Louisiana. I'll give you a license. You can put them wherever you want. All you have to do is to give me 10%, of the money that comes in. So Costello got in with Huey Long, but then he needed somebody there who knew the places to put the machines, the nightclubs, the bars, the gambling places. And that was Carlos Marcello. Everybody knew Carlos Marcello was the boss down there.
Well, he's a type of person that if he made a promise to someone, he always kept it. In connection with any business transactions he had, he would also always agree to something with a handshake rather than a lot of written documents. And people grew to respect him for that, and the fact that he was always asking people if they were all right, if their families were all right. He was always concerned about a person's family.
I don't think he needed violent methods that much. You see, the thing that's peculiar about the New Orleans organized crime family is that it managed to establish an absence of competition. It's not like having Colombo and Gambino and all these people feuding with each other. New Orleans was very much a controlled territory. This is the FBI theory.
In fact, I have to say that the Marcello crime family, from what I know, is the least violent, or we can show the least amount of violence of any other of the LCN families.
On the other hand, Robert Kennedy seems to have singled out Carlos Marcello for persecution and even humiliation. At one point, he had Marcello, who was probably the most powerful gangster in America, picked up off the street and flown to Central America and literally dropped in the jungle. You simply don't do that to a man like Carlos Marcello and expect to enjoy the joke.
It was a real kidnapping operation. And Marcello was very bitter about this. He had some terrible experiences because Guatemala deported him to Salvador. Salvador deported him to Honduras. He had to walk through jungles. He had to walk for miles on dusty roads to finally get to an airport so he could obtain his freedom.
We contend that his deportation to Guatemala was illegal, and that the Guatemalan government has never agreed to accept Mr. Carlos Marcello. The papers, the travel documents, which the United States used to transfer him from the United States to Guatemala were fraudulent documents. And the fraud was between the immigration director of the United States from Mexico City and the immigration director in Guatemala.
And when he returned, he swore that he was going to get even with the Kennedys. Being a good Sicilian, Sicilians believe in revenge, right? His honor was offended.
Carlos Marcello had the oldest motive known to man for murder, hatred. He simply hated the Kennedys. On the one hand, the Kennedys had launched a very broad-scale and very successful war against organized crime, even though it's clear that certain elements of organized crime actually helped him to become elected.
The two people in his war against the mafia, the two people he wanted to get were Jimmy Hoffa and Carlos Marcello. And they were both friends. They knew each other very well.
In September of 1962, Hoffa was having a conversation with Parton. And during this conversation, Hoffa said, you know, I'm going to kill Bobby Kennedy. I want to kill Bobby Kennedy. I want him dead. The Attorney General has got a vendetta against me, and I'm going to kill him and his entire family. We're going to blow up Hickory Hill over here in Virginia, where where Bobby Kennedy lived with his family. We're going to blow the home up. We're going to kill Kennedy and all of his children. And Parton, who had a bunch of kids himself, said, hey, if you want to kill Kennedy, but don't kill the kids. And he goes, no, they're Kennedys. I want them all dead.
I don't question that Jimmy Hoffa wanted Jack Kennedy out of the way.
Our world is organized, they were going to sit idly by out of fear of a subpoena.
But I think what people need to understand is Jimmy Hoffa took orders from the mob. He did not give orders.
Marcello said that if we kill Bobby Kennedy, the president will order the National Guard out, and he will crack down on the mafia all over the country. It will be worse for us than ever before. What we have to do is to kill the president, because Bobby Kennedy derived his great power from the fact that he was a brother of the president. And if the president was shot, Bobby would be neutralized.
Now, if you put those things together, Marcello hated the president, he had been humiliated by the Kennedys, and he had been tape recorded saying that the president was to be murdered, and then the president is murdered, the conclusion is fairly easy to reach.
A witness by the name of Edward Becker was at Marcello's huge farm on the banks of the Mississippi River.
One day we went out to his farmhouse, and just he and I and this nephew and this barber, who I didn't know at that time, I thought he was his bodyguard. And we're there, we're drinking, and he's playing Connie Francis records in Italian on the phonograph, and getting very nostalgic. Well, now I'm stupid because I'm drinking. I want to needle him about the fact that Bobby Kennedy had him deported, sent to Guatemala, and and these, and I'm saying, and of course I'm from Las Vegas, so he trusts me. I'm from Las Vegas. I have to be in the mob. I have to know, I'm needling him. I'm half drunk. He's half gone, and I'm saying, boy, Bobby Kennedy really did a number on you. Whoa, boy, now he's incensed. And he's telling me how he's going to kill the president. I said, you're going to kill it, when you laugh when you hear it at a bar or anything. Kill the president? Why would you, that's stupid. You mad at Bobby, get Bobby, don't get the president, right? And that was the famous saying that's still going around. If I cut off the head, the tail dies. That's what he says to me.
So we have that witness who was declared to be a credible witness by the House Committee on Assassinations, incidentally. Cuban businessman by the name of Jose Alaman was talking to a mobster in Miami, Santos Traficante Jr., and Santos Traficante was a very close friend of Carlos Marcello. And they were talking about the next election Kennedy was going to be in.
Traficante gets wound up about John Kennedy, and he says, have you seen how this man Kennedy is hitting Hoffa, hero of the blue collars, a man who's not a millionaire? This is very delicate business, Jose. And this man Kennedy's going to get what's coming to him. And Alaman says, well, Kennedy's pretty popular. He's probably going to be reelected in 1964. And Traficante replied, no, Jose, he's going to be hit. When we interviewed Alaman, we said he must have said something more than that. And he said that Hoffa was handling the arrangements for the president's murder. And understand, when we're talking about Hoffa, we're talking about the man who owned Jimmy Hoffa, and that, of course, was Carlos Marcello from New Orleans.
And this is all based on FBI documents. A businessman from the South took a trip to New Orleans, and he was invited to have dinner in the Town and Country Motel, which was owned by Carlos Marcello, and which was his headquarters. And he had dinner in there one night in the spring of 1963, and he saw a man come in and talk to the manager, who was Carlos Marcello's underboss, Joseph Porretto. And the two of them went to a corner of the restaurant, and he saw Joe Porretto hand what looked like a package or an envelope of money to this man. And this man took it under the table, and then a little while later, he left. Right after the assassination, this businessman from the South went to the FBI and said he was in the Town and Country Motel, and the man who came in and took the money from Marcello's lieutenant was Lee Harvey Oswald. The next one is on November 20th, 2 days before the assassination. The assassination, as you know, occurred on November 22nd. A woman who was a heroin addict and a prostitute was thrown out of a car in a town north of New Orleans in Louisiana. And she was picked up by the police and taken to a hospital. And on the way to the hospital, she said, oh, something terrible is going to happen in Dallas 2 days from now. The word is out in the underworld, word is out in the underworld that Kennedy is going to get shot in Dallas 2 days from now. And then when she got to the hospital, they put her on the operating table to fix up her wounds, and she told the doctor, and I've spoken to that doctor, doctor, you must do something. In 2 days, Kennedy is going to be shot in Dallas. I came up with two men who said that they were going to two Italians who said they were going to do it. And they didn't pay any attention to her because she was a heroin addict and just raving, crazy. But right after the assassination, the police came and interrogated her, and the FBI took a big interest in her. But the whole matter was dropped.
Thank you.